Well, welcome to another episode of The Ordinary Gentleman, where we endeavor to master the art of masculinity by building virtues of strength, wisdom, and responsibility to the glory of God. Well, a few months ago now, Russia invaded Ukraine, and it was coming for such a long while that I admit I had started to think of it as media hype. And now that it's happened, it's been interesting to see how the world responded, and it'll still be interesting to see how it responds as this carries on longer than expected. In addition to this war in Russia and Ukraine, there are many areas around the world at the moment where tensions are running high. Think of China and Taiwan and the Middle East, just to mention a few areas. The UK seems to be in decline, and the US hasn't been this divided since the Civil War. And the demographics of many European countries themselves are changing rapidly, which heralds social unrest in the future. There's a quote by a guy called Michael Hopf. He says, "Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men then create hard times." I believe we're at the weak men creating hard times part. Life's become so easy in the West that we've started playing games with the definition of man and woman. We are these days looking to singers and movie stars to give us guidance and wisdom. Our heroes wear soft clothes, we have personal therapy sessions, and we fight over whose past makes them the most oppressed. People need safe spaces and they speak about needing personal validation. We allow our teenage boys to spend endless hours playing video games in a virtual world. We need life coaches. We consume antidepressants like Smarties, and we demand the right to free tertiary education, abortion, and minimum wage. Well, the real hard times are coming. While I don't desire hard times any more than the next person, one good thing will come, and that'll be that tough times wake us up from our wokeness and bring some much needed common sense. And part of the current challenge with the pushback against biblical gender roles, I'm convinced, comes from the good times that we've grown so used to. Good times which have allowed what I'm going to call the feminization of men. That is, that men no longer need to exercise that which makes us distinctively masculine in order to be accepted by society. I'm currently reading a book called Little House on the Prairie by Laura Ingalls Wilder to my children in the evenings. And as I read about Laura's father, I'm struck by just how necessary men and women were in those frontier days in North America. Men in those days needed to be tough. They needed to literally provide food. They needed to literally build the houses, protect the family. They needed to drive the wagons. They needed to hitch up the horses. They needed to make tough decisions, which men are designed to make. Because men were being men, the woman also needed to be at home caring for children and ensuring that food was prepared, that clothes and linen were washed, knitting and sewing was done, clothes were mended, babies were cared for, etc. Things which women are designed for. The need for men and women in those days was very obvious. But today it seems entirely plausible that women can step into a man's role because all he is doing is sitting at a desk in front of a computer all day, or sitting and participating in meetings. Of course, women can do that too. On top of that, since men are not out doing the things that they are designed to do, they're spending far more time doing the things that women are designed to do around the home. And we start to think that stay-at-home dads are an entirely viable option. Of course, why shouldn't it be like that? A little while ago, Lennox put out an episode addressing why wokeness is unmanly. I think he used the word effeminate to describe it. One of the points he made was that wokeness is one factor which leads to a bigger government which effeminizes men. If you look around you, we see how we've had to continually cede manly dominion in the form of providing, protecting, and presiding over what is rightfully under our care. We've had to cede that to the civil government. Now, this naturally tempts men to become more effeminate, and we see more and more of the androgynous culture which has become so ubiquitous in our day. Remember that, as Douglas Wilson is so fond of saying, the ultimate goal of the LGBT agenda is not making homosexuality and transgenderism acceptable. It's erasing biblical gender roles and distinctions altogether. It's not enough to live and let live. The goal is the obliteration of biblical norms and the destruction of the home and family. But the hard times strip away much of the luxury and easy living which allow men to be less masculine and allow women to leave the home and society therefore to androgynize. Perhaps exactly what we need is a healthy dose of reality in the form of hard times. I'd love to know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. That's it from me today. Short episode. May the Lord find us faithful as we seek to serve Him as men.